Now to the debate over asylum seekers, which looks set to overtake the mining tax as the key issue at the upcoming federal poll. Overnight, another boat arrived, the 74th this year, with a person on board reportedly using a mobile phone to alert authorities. As history shows, it's an issue that can win and lose an election, and this time around both sides of politics have been accused of exploiting the subject for political gain. While Australia waits for Julia Gillard's expected shift in policy, a new WA study has exposed some of the mythology in the asylum seeker debate. Nikki Wilson-Smith reports.
In the right circumstances, you've got to be prepared to turn boats round.
One which sends those who are not legitimate asylum seekers back home.
This government made it very clear we weren't going to lock children behind barbed wire.
Christmas Island is now potentially Australia's Guantanamo Bay.
With the federal election just around the corner, both major parties have been keen to appear tough on asylum seekers.
There is a security risk if people arrive by boat without identity papers.
They tend to describe it in rhetoric that encourages people's pre-existing perceptions. One of the things that they talk about frequently is border protection. And this immediately creates this sense in the public that we've got something to fear, that we're under threat.
And you only have to tune in to Talkback Radio to realise that it's a subject that draws emotive reactions.
How dare us as lucky Australians sit on our backsides and say, well, you know, everyone else go away, this is our earth.
If there's no Australian consulate or whatever, surely there has got to be another country that's in Afghanistan with a consulate or something where he could have applied legally to have gone to.
But here at Murdoch University, researchers have been busy cutting through the political spin.
I found that there is a diversity of views in the Australian community about asylum seekers, but there is an awful lot of negativity about them as well.
Psychologist Dr. Anne Peterson has spent 17 years researching community attitudes towards minority groups like asylum seekers. With the help of colleague Sue Hoffman, she has surveyed hundreds of Perth residents, uncovering 5 recurring misconceptions.
One, for example, is that they're queue jumpers. But if you look at the information and look at the facts from their point of view, there is often no queue for them to join. And even if they could, they couldn't. There isn't the time to do it because they're fleeing for their lives.
Of the boat arrivals, it's roughly 90% of them end up being resettled in Australia. Their reasons for not staying in those countries, according to the research I've done, is totally valid because they were not safe. In terms of people actually aiming for Australia, my research and other research has indicated that a number of people, when they leave their countries of origin and on the journey, they don't necessarily know where they're going to end up.
The researchers say that most people surveyed also didn't realise that Australia has a relatively small intake of refugees, about 15 times less than the UK and 30 times less than Germany. They say the findings are concerning because of a direct link between false beliefs and negative attitudes.
Often we don't see enough leadership in actually exposing the facts, asking people to think about whether their fears are grounded in reality. In some ways, we get emotive about asylum seekers because we haven't met them, because we don't know anyone that's an asylum seeker.
People like Daniel Rosé, who on the surface looks like any other tradesman running a business in Perth. But this 35-year-old father of 5 didn't know where he would end up when he was smuggled out of Afghanistan in 1999. Today, he's keen to dispel the myth that asylum seekers are freeloaders.
I've been as a witness a lot of my families and a lot of friends and relatives, the people from my village, they've been killed and taken by Taliban. The bad memory I had in my life, the day I said goodbye to my family, because my little daughter, she was only 3 days old when I left the country. So as a bad situation to the community, I really say this. I'm happy to stay here and settle my life because all the kids going to school, I'm working hard, and I have my own business as a qualified painter and decorator and building maintenance here. So I'm happy to be as a proud Australian, yes.
Next week, the federal government's suspension on asylum claims by Sri Lankans expires, requiring a new decision from a new leader.
She has to appeal to a broad range of people on this issue, which is challenging. She also has her own base, and I think many people, members of the Labor Party, would like to see more humane treatment of refugees. So trying to balance that will be extremely difficult. I wouldn't want to be in her shoes in that respect.
It'll be a tricky balancing act. Julia Gillard has said she won't lurch to the right on asylum seekers, but she's not expected to go soft on them either.
I think that she'll toughen up this response to asylum seekers. I think there'll be more measures introduced to try and deter people from arriving by boat. I don't think we'll see a more humane policy at all. It's not in keeping with how elections have been approached in the past.
Nikki Wilson-Smith with that report.